more and more in these last years, I'm combining psychology and have been, both having trained in an inpatient psych emergency room, 5 years outpatient, working with both, severe, what they call big T trauma, people who've been severely abused, and maybe even worse, complex trauma, which means it was ongoing throughout long periods of time. And then what we call relational trauma, which is basically what most of us have to some degree. So I use this kind of parts-based psychology that started with Jungian, went to Gestalt, went to voice dialogue, went to start with what parts of you are afraid of opening or dropping. So I go both out, but then I also go in. And then I ask, and so we work with those parts, and we just did a big retreat. And, that's the first part of the introduction, to bring all emotions, all parts are welcome. And there's no bad parts. There's protective parts, and there's the judge, and there's the critic, and there's the shadow parts, or the exiles, and they're all welcome. And let's all, find a way to make them feel safe enough to just taste, and then find that what they're all looking for, even the angry parts, the terrorized parts, the rageful parts, they're looking for love. They're looking for what this is in its wholeness, not in its first step of, which can be close to dissociation or depersonalization, but making that distinction, and then, really bringing those things together, I think is my next, kind of way of ancient wisdom and modern, psychology, which you kind of do intuitively anyhow.
I kind of do it intuitively, but I also brought it up because I know you do some really good work in that area, and like I said, I just think it's an area that just needs more acknowledgement. Total, you're acknowledging it, I'm acknowledging it, but just because then people can, I think then, like you said, someone can come to your, say, a retreat, and you're kind of talking about this stuff, and people start to realize, like, oh, all of me gets to come to the party? Right? All of me gets to come? Really? Like, and here's how it can come to the party. And it's probably scared. So here's how we can, you know what I mean? Keep it, and those kind of things. If all that's just, there's a lot of people, there's plenty of people that just don't need any of that. But there's a lot of people that do. And I think it's just really lovely, even just to have it conceptually sort of, acknowledged.
And to develop, and that's kind of just like I love reverse engineering and combining and, creating these fun ways to kind of get to wholeness and trust wholeness, but not deny the, the hurt and the trauma and the, conditioning that is just out of balance, and say, okay, well, you're out of balance, but, it's okay. You don't have to be perfect. What is that Zen quote, that you're perfect just the way you are, and you could use a little improvement?
Yeah, that was Suzuki Roshi's. He had like, everything's totally perfect, and it can use a little improvement. It's one of those things that makes perfect sense until you try to think about it too much, right? But that intuitive, I love that.